Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
FF episode 1357, 1357. I am Mike Matthews, broadcasting from Café Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valentino. Today, here we are, Café Anyway, the last place on earth. And today, we shall hear from the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And we will get to a segment, a brand new segment, called What?
Mike's Daily Podcast.
That's the thing. Hey, I was watching C-SPAN as I tend to do on the weekend, and I saw the lovely Condoleezza Rice, and she could be my best friend, but she has to do the politics thing and teach at Stanford University. I think she, me and her could date and be so happy. We could date, she and I, even though I think she's like 12 years old.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
14 years older than me, I think, is my assumption. She seemed very nice, though, and I would like to be
Mike's
the husband
Daily
of a politician.
Podcast.
That appeals to me right now.
Yeah!
I see how Melania handles it, and I said I could be like a male Melania. I could be a Michaelania. That's what I'll be. And hey, so I was walking Basil the Boxer with the lovely lady Katie again today, and she and I were discussing how I've been so angry on the podcast, and she agrees, she concurs with the lovely Sylvia. Look who just walked in. Just now. Right now. Hello, my goodness, it's Madame Rootabega, and yes, you're always so angry. Why are you so angry? Well, I don't know. Look who else walked in.
Hello, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, I think all of us, it's scary, because we all have to deal with anger today.
Yeah, anger. Do you know that? I work with a guy who's angry all the time. Don't know why you got to be angry all the time. It's a song by Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, doing a Bruce Robinson, Kelly Willis song. Oh, I miss my country. I got an email today from someone that used to listen to my country show that I used to do on Country Crossroads Radio. And he said,
and here's today's podcast picture.
No, he didn't say, and here's today's podcast picture, which, by the way, is a picture of the lovely, I think this is, is it called? It's right across the street from Ghirardelli Square in San Francisco. And the sun was setting right next to Mount Tamalpais. And you can see the Golden Gate Bridge. It was a beautiful day. This picture from 8 years ago. 7 years ago, when Colin and his lovely wife Courtney were visiting. Do you get the feeling every woman mentioned on this podcast has the word lovely in front of their name? It's true. That's how it has to be. And so she and him were visiting, and we went to this wonderful park, and the sun was setting, and I got this picture. So I thought I would post it today. Go retro. I've been posting a lot of current pictures as of late, so yeah, that's the picture at mikesdailypodcast.com. But really, I was telling you about this email I got from, and I guess this is the segment that we should call...
Oh my God. Email from email, and you're calm and not so calm.
Yeah, let's call it that. That's what we're going to call this segment. And because that's the name of it. And what we will do is we will look at this email. Sorry, I got a little distracted because I'm at Podcaster Valley Ton today. So sort of between Castro Valley and Pleasanton, that's where I am because it's Sunday. But Brian Rind is his name, and he's in Toronto, and he used to email me. He was the only listener. Well, him and his friend Caroline used to email me when I was on the Country Crossroads Radio. And he wrote, I hope you come back. I loved your show. I will keep in touch. Oh, before that, he wrote, Hi, Mike. I hope you're okay. I haven't heard you on the radio for a couple of weeks. P.S. Brian from Toronto. And then I emailed him back and told him that, look, Country Crossroads Radio is going away. It's ending. They're pulling the plug on it at the end of this month. Josh Tanner, who does the country radio station, he's got no time now. And it costs too much money to do internet radio. I can do this show completely for free because I don't... like that music, that piano that you're hearing, that's me. And I'm playing original stuff. And this song, it goes a little like this. Oh crap, I forgot the words to this. This is one of my songs. Anyway, Café Anyway, that is the reason why I'm able to do this show for...
Anyway.
Thank you. For relatively inexpensively, and Josh Tanner has to pay hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month to keep Country Crossroads Radio on the air. So he had to end it. And I told Brian as much, and he says, well, I hope you will come back. I loved your show. I will keep in touch. Well, the fact is, I will not come back to Country Crossroads Radio, Brian, because it's going away. But it's hard to explain these things. Maybe I will get on an internet radio station someday, but I enjoy doing this podcast for you now on the weekend, and in fact making this show a truly daily podcast, almost, except for the thing I can't really do Saturdays. But that's a little bit of here and that and this and that and over there and up there and to the left and right. I would like to do a little segment for you. I haven't done this in a while, and that would be
Mike's Daily Podcast MasterPod Theater.
I love that.
Okay, cool.
And now, the podcast players present the rendition of The Princess and the Pea. There once was a prince, and he wanted a princess. And then, but she must be a real princess. He traveled right around the world to find one, but there was always something wrong. There were plenty of princesses, but whether they were real princesses, he had great difficulty in discovering. There was always something which was not quite right about them. Madame Rootabega. Thank you, Matthew. So at last he had come home again, and he was very, very sad because he wanted a real princess so badly. Ooh, Valentino?
Yeah, okay, one evening, there was a terrible storm. It thundered and lightning, then the rain poured down in torrents there. Indeed, it was a fearful night. Bison Bentley?
Yeah, in the middle of the storm, somebody knocked at the town gate. What the hell was that? I was knocking. That was a knocking sound effect. Stop it, it's scary. All right, jeez. And the old king himself sent to open it. Oh, wow. It's opened. It was a princess who stood outside, but she was in a terrible state from the rain and the storm. The water streamed out of her hair and her clothes. It clung tightly around her bosom. And what the hell? This is getting a little steamy. Well, we shall soon see if that is true, thought the old queen. Oh, it's because she said she was a princess. She went into the bedroom, took all the bedclothes off, and laid a pea on the bed. So she basically took 20 mattresses, piled them on top of a pea, and then 20 feather beds on top of the mattresses. This is where the princess was to sleep that night. In the morning, they asked her how she slept. And what did she say, madam? But I don't know. I'm just standing here. Ooh. No, read the book that's in front of you, the really big one. Oh, I slept terribly bad. I have hardly closed my eyes the whole night. Heaven knows what was in that bed. Oh, I seem to be lying upon some hard thing, and my whole body is black and blue this morning. It is terrible. Valentino?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna read anymore.
Valentino, come on.
All right. No.
All right, I'll do it. Bison, you don't have to do anything. What? Do you know that? We are the worst podcast players ever. Okay, thank you for listening to Mike's Daily Podcast players and the MasterPod Theater. Here we go. They saw she was a real princess when she had felt the pea through 20 mattresses and 20 feather beds. The end. Hey, so here's the thing. Oh, by the way, the P was put in a museum where it may still be seen if no one has stolen it. And that's a true story. Hey, you know what? That's what it says according to this big book. But here's the thing, what this nursery rhyme or this fable tells us is that women are princesses and we should treat them all with respect. And that a true princess has to complain about the tiniest little thing called a pee. So if your woman complains a lot, you should love her, men, because she's a princess and she can complain because life has its little peas and she is free to complain about it. The end. Thank you.
All right.
I wanted to share that with you. A little Sunday story time here at Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. And the wonderful website that I just mentioned just then has all these wonderful links to past shows and past interviews I've done and past podcast pictures. See all the wonderful podcast pictures I have taken, including the most recent podcast picture, which was actually taken 7 years ago. But you can see it now at Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. Tell all your friends, for they should know. And there's a way to help out the show through the Amazon link. Click on that and buy whatever it is you're going to buy, and that makes us happy. If you know the wonderful Condoleezza Rice personally, tell her I am single, and I know she's single, so let's make this happen. There is also links to the wonderful PayPal. Click on that, buy whatever it is you're going to buy. Do you think Condoleezza Rice will date someone who hosts a liberal podcast? Sure. Make that happen. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. And you can call me at 336-MM-DAILY. That's 336-MM-DAILY. Rings me right here at Café Anyway, the last place on earth. Now let's get to the segment called...
What?
Yeah. You ready, Mike?
Well, I hope that it lifted you up a little bit, that story, because we had a crazy night in England. British Prime Minister Theresa May called today for a stronger response to Islamist extremism after 3 attackers rammed a hired van into pedestrians on London Bridge and stabbed others nearby, killing 7 people. And they ended up injuring 48. It occurred 5 days before a parliamentary election and was the third to hit Britain in less than 3 months. Theresa May said that Thursday's vote would still go ahead. It is time to say enough is enough, the Conservative leader said outside her Downing Street office, where British flags flew at half-mast. She said, "We cannot and must not pretend that things can continue as they are." She called for a beefed-up counter-terrorism strategy that could include longer jail sentences for some offenses and agreements to regulate cyberspace. A Canadian national was among those killed, said Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. None of the dead were identified by name. French and Australian authorities said nationals from their countries were also among those injured. Police shot dead the 3 male assailants in the Borough Market near London Bridge within 8 minutes of receiving the first emergency call shortly after 10 p.m. local time. Mark Rowley, head of a counterterrorism police unit, said 8 officers had fired about 50 bullets to stop the attackers, who appeared to be suicide bombers because they were wearing what turned out to be fake suicide vests. The situation these officers were confronted with was critical, a matter of life and death, said Mark Rowley. The 3 armed men wearing what appeared to be suicide belts had already attacked and killed members of the public and had to be stopped immediately. A member of the public received non-critical gunshot wounds during the incident, he said. London police arrested 12 people in the Barking district of East London in connection with the attack, and raids were continuing there. A Reuters photographer saw another raid take place nearby East Ham. And this is less than 2 weeks after a suicide bomber killed 22 kids and adults at a concert by Ariana Grande in Manchester. In March, in an attack similar to Saturday's, 5 people died after a man drove into pedestrians on Westminster Bridge in central London and stabbed a policeman. Theresa May said the series of attacks were not connected in terms of planning and execution, but were inspired what she called a, quote, single evil ideology of Islamicist extremism that represented a perversion of Islam and of the truth. On to some lighter news. Toyota and Tesla have ended their partnership. A spokesperson for the Japanese carmaker Toyota said yesterday, declined though to say what the transaction occurred or how much Toyota made from the sale, but Tesla shares have been on a tear, rising more than 50% in the past year. Toyota owned 2.3 million shares in Tesla in March of last year, and its stake was valued at $480 million at the time, according to the most recent disclosure from the company. The two companies teamed up in a 2010 operation to create electric vehicles. Toyota took a $50 million stake in the maker of electric cars and SUVs. In return, Tesla produced components for the battery-powered version of the RAV4 crossover sport utility vehicle. Now, you may recall, we're all crazy, like Tesla's doing really well. Electric cars are doing so good. It doesn't seem that long ago. In fact, it maybe have been just a little over 10 years ago, if that they were proclaiming the death of the electric car. There was a movie that had a title that said as much, featured Ed Begley Jr. conducting a funeral somewhere in Hollywood, and he gets up and he eulogizes about the electric car. He, of course, was one of the first early adopters and drivers of electric cars, and I, in fact, had the chance to meet him. I think it was around the time that movie came out. He was in Ventura, where I used to live. He was downtown. We were doing a big street fair down there, and we had a little section. One of the streets had all these electric and environmentally conscious vehicles. A couple of, for example, a vehicle you don't hear much about these days, biodiesel. People back about 10 years ago were making a lot of biodiesel for their biodiesel cars. They were getting the oil from places like McDonald's and turning that French fry oil into diesel in their garages. Well, this did not seem to be the type of thing that was that easy to do. And I don't know if you know, your neighbor has their garage filled to the gills with Christmas decorations and crap. Nobody's got the room in their garage to do this sort of thing. So that kind of went by the wayside. Although when I was in Germany in 2009, I remember the gas stations there had biodiesel at the pump. And I almost put biodiesel into a diesel engine of my rental car, and I almost had to pay a frickin' ton of money to repair that car. That would have sucked. Luckily, at the very last second, I decided not to put biodiesel into the car. It was the best decision I ever made. My then wife and here's something Sylvia said to me. You mention your ex-wife all the time. Sorry. I spent 15 years with her, okay? I'm going to mention her. That's just how it goes. I'm 48, 15 years of my life. You do the math. That's a huge chunk of my life. So I'm going to mention her from time to time. It's just gonna happen, so deal with it. Anyway, Café Anyway.
Anyway.
My then wife and my mom were with me on this trip, and neither one of them knew if I should put biodiesel into the car, so it was a good guess not to do it. So if you are in Germany and you're driving a diesel car, which you are more than likely going to do because they don't use gas that much there, you will be putting regular diesel into your car unless you've been told at the car rental place that it is a biodiesel car. If it's a biodiesel car, I believe you'll only be putting it's a different type of engine. At any rate, the electric car is doing really well. It's the point of the whole thing. And now, another story about Toyota, and that is they're doing a flying car. A startup backed by Japanese automaker Toyota has developed a test model that engineers hope will eventually develop into a tiny car with a driver who will be able to light the Olympic torch at the Tokyo Games. They're coming up in 2020. For now, however, the project is a concoction of aluminum framing and 8 propellers that barely get off the ground and crashes after several seconds, according to the Associated Press. Toyota has invested 42.5 million yen, which is about $386,000, in startup Cartivator Resource Management to work on SkyDrive. At least at a test flight Saturday in the city where the automaker is based, the gadgetry about the size of a car and loaded with batteries and sensors blew up a lot of sand. It blew up a lot of sand and made a lot of noise. It managed to get it about as high as eye level for several seconds before tilting and falling to the ground. Basketballs attached to its bottom served as cushions. After several attempts, the endeavor had to be canceled after one of the covers got detached from the frame and broke. Okay, it may be a while before we get to Back to the Future type flying cars. But in other movie news, since I just mentioned a movie, Patty Jenkins directed Wonder Woman, and way to go to her. She has a milestone that she is now in the history books because she is the first woman director of a blockbuster to surpass, conquer the milestone of a $100.5 million debut. And the first solo female superhero film in over a decade, and the first superhero movie, period, directed by a woman. And it has broken the glass ceiling for female directors and stomps on Iron Man with its $100.5 million debut. That's the second time in the Fest's 70-year history. What Fest are they talking about? That okay. Well, anyway, it's doing very well, and several people that I know on Facebook said it is the best DC movie ever. So wow, shuts wow. Oh, that's not the name of the segment. It's what? And here's our final what story, and that is SpaceX launched its first recycled cargo ship to the International Space Station yesterday. Yet another milestone. Talking about milestones in its bid to drive down flight costs. After a 2-day delay caused by thunderstorms, the unmanned Falcon rocket blasted off, carrying a Dragon capsule that made a station delivery nearly 3 years ago. When this refurbished Dragon reaches the orbiting lab tomorrow, it will be the first returning craft since NASA's now retired shuttles. The first stage booster flown yesterday afternoon was brand new and is now the custom, and returned to Cape Canaveral following liftoff for a successful vertical touchdown. The Falcon has landed, said SpaceX Mission Control from the company headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Hawthorne? Oh my God, I didn't know that's where they were located. Wow. Hawthorne. My mom used to have a part-time job in Hawthorne, California, and I was just a kid, like 1 or 2. She would take me there while she did paperwork and bookworking. You know, numbers and such, accounting and whatnot, for this company in Hawthorne, California. I remember that. Barely, and she just had me play with toys and whatnot. And this office was empty. I knew she did it after hours to make a little extra money. And I used to play with toys on the ground, on the floor of this office building, which stunk of cigarette smoke. Now, I don't remember that for sure, but you can bet, since this was in the 70s, and people could still smoke in the offices, that it stunk of cigarettes. And my mom has always been a smoker, so I'm sure she was smoking as well. Book making? Why can't I think of the term? Anyway, it was a milestone SpaceX did from Hawthorne, California. And SpaceX, that is owned by Elon Musk, isn't it? And Elon Musk, that's Tesla, right? Yeah, so this all comes back to Tesla, I guess. Yeah. SpaceX chief Elon Musk tweeted early Sunday morning, this morning, "It's starting to feel kind of normal to reuse rockets. Good. That's how it is for cars and airplanes and how it should be for rockets." As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, thank you for listening to the Sunday show. I think we got a lot done. I think we talked about a lot of things from beautiful downtown Podcastro Valleyton as I look at Mount Diablo and a beautiful kind of a hazy June day, sunny June day, and I'm happy because I got to walk Basil the Boxer with the lovely lady Katie and her dog Mally Malware, as I like to call her. Next show, it will be the wonderful Benita, the disgruntled fiddle player, and the brewmaster. How come every woman that brings the microphone out to the audience for question and answer periods during the lectures they have on C-SPAN 2 and C-SPAN 3, how come every woman that holds the microphone that brings the, I don't know why, if that's a sexist thing that they're bringing, it has to be a woman that brings the microphone out to the audience, I don't know, but they're always beautiful women. I don't know, we'll have to ask Condoleezza Rice.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!